Hallelujah. For the past few weeks, we've been discussing about faith. And in that, we've been exploring one book, James chapter 1. And today also we are going to explore James chapter 1 only. Because there are number of things, number of secrets hidden even in a single word that is stated in the Bible. So I think there's nothing surprising that we are still looking into James chapter 1. You see, in a Christian life, as we already discussed, among the various essential things, faith is considered to be the most important aspect of a Christian life. But at the same time, you see, many people have been oscillating between faith and doubt, because opposite of faith is doubt. So we need to understand clearly about what faith does, or how to understand faith, or what happens by faith when we start analyzing, or when we start learning much more about the various things which is said in the Bible regarding faith. We come to know, or more revelations are being given to us by the Holy Spirit. You see, we need to understand the difference between sin and a blessed life. So similarly, we have to have a clear understanding about how a sin is born. So today we'll just see how a sin is born in the course of faith. Because in a situation, because to understand many things, we have to keep things simple. You see, when we face many situations, or we may face many circumstances in our day-to-day life. And each and every circumstance, each and every situation which we face in our life, day-to-day life, that each and every second of us facing the situation, or when we walk through these sort of situations or the circumstances, every minute counts. Because the decision you take, even when you need to go to a shop, you need to take many decisions. Just to understand clearly, this is just an example, may not be exact, but still, when you decide to go to a shop and buy a certain thing, you decide, and then you take some route to reach that shop, and you decide how you go there, what you wear, and then which shop you go, and which rate you buy, and then even in this due course, you meet so many people. Even in the course of you buying a single product, you land up buying many things, and that depends upon your pocket. You have more money, you purchase something more. So each and every, even in this simple routine of your life, you take many decisions. So many things alter your course, or many things alter, influence what you do in a situation. So even in a faithful life, many people land up in sin. So that is what we are going to see today. So before we understand, we'll have a small brushing up like what we have seen all these days. Because when we talk about faith, or when we are going to learn about a thing which is new today, we have to have a better understanding about what we learned all these days. Because one fraction of a minute, the decisions we take in that fraction decides a destiny. Even accidents happen in a fraction of a second, but that alters your full course of life. One small accident, maybe you might have caused it by your own, or you might be right, or the opponent may be wrong. Whatever it is, that accident happens in a fraction of a second that alters your total life. So, when we're talking about faith in James chapter 1, in James chapter 1, verse 3, we saw that you know that the testing of a faith produces steadfastness. So you see here, we see about testing of faith. Testing, the word testing. This is the thing you have to think deeper. Because testing of faith. So the word testing itself means something. So testing, in the sense, it means that a trial or situation which is designed to reveal your strength or one's character. Because when we face a test, maybe for example you can take your exams. They test your ability. They test what you learn. So they test what you learned all those days, and then when you take a test, what comes out is what you have learned, and the amount you have taken inside, the amount which you have realized or you have experienced. So when a test is conducted, your character or your ability is revealed. So when a test is conducted, teachers conduct it. Why they conduct it? They teach you many things and then they conduct a test. So here James says that testing your faith produces steadfastness. So to understand test, the test is provided by the source or God. So he tests your faith. Why? So that your character or your loyalty or your commitment comes out. Whatever you have learned or whatever your faith might be, your faith, the testing of your faith automatically reveals all those things. Your character, your commitment, how much committed you are with God, your loyalty with God, and all those things comes out in that test. So God is allowing a test. So when we talk about this testing, automatically many people fall into the trap of Satan. So that is what we are going to learn today about what or how this sin comes out, or how this failure comes, or we can say that how this sin takes birth, even we can say like that. Because for first to understand testing, so this testing is done to reveal, or that sort of a situation is designed so that your loyalty or commitment comes out. And we can take it that God has permitted, so that that situation is being designed or permitted or orchestrated so that you face it and you take a decision. Because when a test is conducted, you have to take a decision. You have to act upon your decision. Decisions should be taken on when to go, where to go, how to go, or how to do that, or how to face it. All those things depends. So when you act, there comes an outcome. So when you are automatically when you are with God, you are going to show how much loyal you are, how much your commitment you have, and the character you have. And when it is successful, when you come out, when the testing is done and you are successful, you become a person, you become a more faithful person or more successful person. That is what we learned in the previous verses, that blessed is a man, verse 12, blessed is a man who remains steadfast, and then it says, they will receive the crown of life. So just keep this is just a brush up. So for detailed, you can verify, or you can go through our previous messages, so that you get a more precise understanding about this, because this is more important. Why? The thing we are going to discuss next. Because after this, this comes, because when you face, you get your success, and then God gives a crown of life and all those things said. And after that verse 3, you see the word, if any of you lacks wisdom. So what is wisdom there? So wisdom, even this you have to refer old messages. But here, why is wisdom required? I have already said, to face those problems, or how to act in that situation. You have to understand one point, that there is something that you have to decide, or there is something which is going to alter your course of life, or there is something that is going to derail you, or that is going to push you off. Or on the other hand, you're going to attain success, or you're going to receive the crown of life. So there's that small thing that is there, which has to be decided. That is why the verse says, if you lack wisdom, ask God. So what is that which is there put to derail you? What alters your course of life in this situation? That is said in verse 13. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am being tempted by God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, and he himself tempts no one. James chapter 1, verse 13 to 15. For God cannot be tempted with evil, and he himself tempts no one. But each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desire. Then desire, when it is conceived, gives birth to sin. And sin, when it is fully grown, brings forth death. So this verse is most extensively used to describe what a sin is. But when we learn this verse on the context of what we are learning, you get a better understanding about what a sin really is. Because here we are dealing with faith, and we see that the faith, how it acts in a situation. So here what is said is the faith is being tested. So in that testing, we see that we need to take a decision, or testing itself means that you are put in a situation that situation is an orchestrated one. That situation is designed by God so that you come out victorious. Your commitment, your character, all those things comes out, and you receive the crown of life. But what is wisdom needed? That is what the answer to that is here. Because it says in 13, let no one say when he is tempted. When he is tempted. So there's a meaning, or there is a thing that needs to be understood. I would say this is the main reason why we should read many languages, Bible languages, because even in Tamil, or as far as I know, even in Tamil, if you see, just one word is being used in this one and this one. So we never get a better idea, because here it says tempted and again tested. So these two words gives more meaning. Because when would you be tested? Tested, you are being tested, you are put in a situation so that you behave or you take a decision to follow or believe. So even in that course, you receive many things which try to derail you from your original path or your destiny. So to avoid, we'll go to the letter, but to understand tempting. So this temptation, even in this verse itself, you can see that no one say that when he is tempted, I am tempted by God. Because God is not a tempter. He never tempts anyone. So for this, you will have to understand what a temptation is. The temptation is a feeling, or it is an enticement which makes you do things which are wrong when you know, or when you have a better judgment that it is wrong. So when you act according to that, or when you act against a moral code which tells inside you that this is wrong, because each and every one have been given that moral code within us. Even in the Romans, you can see everyone knows what is good and what is wrong. So something in you tells you that this is wrong, this is not good. So that is your moral code, or that is where your spirit speaks. So when that tells you not to do certain things which is not either good, or which is against God's will, or which is against the moral code, or whatever it might be, whatever you might judge. So when you take a decision, or when you act according to that decision, and when you go against your own judgment or moral code, that is called temptation. So that temptation, this temptation is put into your minds by who? The devil. So in this example, what I'm trying to say is, in one situation, you'll come to know how blessing comes out, or how you fall into sin. In this situation, you'll get a better understanding how faith works, and how faith saves you from sin. Or you get a better understanding about what a sin is. So temptation makes you do things which are against your moral code, and then it is put by the devil himself or your own flesh. Of course, that sort of thinking, or that sort of mental works all are done by devil. But that when it comes and you allow all those things to come inside you. So what this temptation does, or what is the outcome of this temptation, is when a person succumbs to temptation, he will or would be won by the negative force, or he would be consumed by the devil. So here we read in verse 13 to 17 or 15. In verse 14, if you see, but each person is tempted when he is lured and enticed by his own desire. That is when your flesh acts upon, when your flesh goes against the moral code or the judgment you have, automatically that desire wins, and you succumb to that work or that desire, you are being lured and enticed. So what happens is this sort of a desire, when you do that work, automatically sin is born. So we again go back to that verse 3 itself. For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. So here, when you take a decision, here there's a play going on over here. Testing is there. And then during the course of the testing, your situation, when you face a problem or when you face a situation, automatically you have to make a decision. When you make a decision, you have two things playing out. Faith and then something tempts you. So when the temptation takes over you, you automatically, you willingly, knowingly, or your moral code or your judgment says that is wrong and this is going to lead to something devastating. You do that work, that desire, that is where sin is born. You might be facing a situation in which many people, in certain situations, they might resort into various other illegal means. Or even illegal means, in the sense they may go to sorcery, or they may go to astrology, they may go to something, or even they may resort to illegal means which is against the law, so that they get a remedy of something, the problem, something to come out of the problem. Automatically they are lured into doing certain sinful acts. They think that they're going to come out of the problem, they're going to come out of the situation. But that is where you get derailed, or your faith is gone. Your faith is being broken. That decision. And that the work you go against God's will or against God's moral code, automatically that desire, when it wins, sin is born. So when a sin is born and when it is fully grown, automatically what happens? Death comes forth. So in verse 16 it says, do not be deceived, my beloved brothers. So this is the why in verse 5 it says, anyone who lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach. So we have to understand temptation. When you face many problems, many people face many problems in their life. Many people go through a lot in their life, daily life, true. But these are all situations which can be easily resolved, because no situation is mightier than a God, because He is a living God. He has put you in a situation not to get you astray, not to go astray, not to feed you to the wolves. He is never going to do that. But out of our panic or out of our doubts, we, being tempted, resort to various other fleshly ideas. And we are caught in the trap of the devil. So in this context itself, we learn how a sin is born in a daily or day-to-day situation. What a sin is. You get a better idea. When we see things with the context, we get more better idea. Because as such, if you just read the Bible just verse by verse and just go on, keep on going, no one is going to understand anything. But when we talk again and again and again, we get more revelations. Because in this James chapter 1, I think we are in this chapter for the 4th week or something. Still we have not completed James chapter 1. So when we read again and again, because verse which comes in the later part of the chapter, it relates to the first part of the chapter. This first chapter, gives you the prelude about the chapter 5, which is the ending chapter of James. So when you need to understand about faith itself, and when you need to understand the faith and the steadfastness, because James chapter itself talks about the steadfastness or perseverance. Even the 5th chapter, if you see this is just a small intro like to what is going to be said throughout this chapter. In the end chapter, if you read, again this perseverance or steadfastness comes into play, because this whole chapter talks about the various phases of how, when, what happens, and all those. It deals with everything. So when you need to understand the first verse, you will have to understand what is said in the last verse. When you need to understand the first verse, again you will have to go to the 10 verses below and then to the 3 verses above. So when you go forth and go back, automatically there will be too much or many revelations. So today you should learn how to deal with temptation. That is why we need the guidance of God or the wisdom of God. When that wisdom comes, that is why it is no more required, more essential for each and every one to ask for divine guidance or ask for divine wisdom, so that we end up victorious and getting or receiving the crown of life. God bless you.